Good afternoon. This is Gail Alston, the Director of the Rosencarter Institute Training Center for Excellence. I want to thank you for your interest in Operation Family Caregiver, an evidence-based caregiver support program for the families of our military men and women coping with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. As you see in this slide is something that was shared at the Military Family Summit in Fort Benning, Georgia in 2002 by a military person who had returned. And I don't generally read slides, but I'm going to read this one to you because these words are just that impactful. When these guys and gals deploy, they come back home with a PTSD, TBI, whatever the issue may be. A lot of the spouses I've talked to have all said the same thing. They do not know how to deal with their husbands or their wives when they return. Their families, whether it's their wife, their husband, or their children, suffer because they're not prepared for that change. Yeah, they get the nice little brief from ACS and the FRG group, your husband's going to come back changed. But they aren't given any tools or resources for when I didn't sleep, for when I woke up from the nightmares and I was punching her in her sleep because I didn't know where or what I was doing. It's these kind of gaps that Operation Family Caregiver wants to fill in assisting those family caregivers, those young wives, the parents, the siblings, in caring for our returning veterans who bring home issues and injuries from the war, from protecting us. Today we're going to briefly go over Operation Family Caregiver just to give you a taste of what it is in case you might be interested in providing these kind of services for our veterans that are in your area. We're going to offer an overview of Operation Family Caregiver, an overview of the training that we provide for the delivery of Operation Family Caregiver, and we're going to provide some information on the training opportunities that are provided by the RCI Training Center for Excellence. We'll start with what Operation Family Caregiver is not. It's not prescriptive in that it does not go in and start telling people what to do. It is an empowerment model to help them learn the skills and strategies that they need to problem solve and find solutions for themselves. It's not clinical in nature. It's about connections. It's about understanding. It's about support. And it's not therapy, which means that those who are delivering this intervention do not need mental health credentials. They're not going to be conducting therapy sessions. They're going to be standing side by side with these caregivers and giving them information, education, and tools that they can use to better cope with their situation. What Operation Family Caregiver is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a means to empower the caregiver to better understand the experiences of their loved one, the behaviors that they're now dealing with, and to help them develop strategies that are proactive and effective in dealing with the issues surrounding traumatic brain injury or PTSS or any other injuries related to their service. A little background on where this originated. It's the problem-solving training for family caregivers of persons with TBI. And it was a random control trial that was conducted back in 2008. It has been proven to significantly improve caregiver outcomes such as burden and depression and self-care. The methodology and results were published in a peer-reviewed journal, which is one parameter for evidence-based interventions. So why should we be interested in Operation Family Caregiver? Well, as we said, it is evidence-based, which means it's undergone rigorous scientific evaluation in a randomized controlled trial. It's been proven effective. It has consistently demonstrated the ability to achieve outcomes of importance to the family caregivers. It's also tailored to each individual family's needs because they are indeed specific to those families. Location, the program comes to the caregiver, either delivered in their home or a location of their choice. It can also be delivered via telephone or by Skype. Operation Family Caregiver minimizes stigma. You know, a diagnosis of PTSD reflects a mental illness, a defect, so to speak, or at least that's what how a lot of people see it. Service members may be wary that seeking help could jeopardize employment or job promotion opportunities. It's important to maintain the privacy of Operation Family Care. The service setting ensures that confidentiality. Flexibility. Caregiver coaches work with or work around the family schedule, have to be available when they're available. Supported adjunct to other services is not clinical in nature, so it does not compete with any other counseling, psychological, or rehab services the family may be receiving. And by training the caregiver to effectively evaluate and respond to problems, OFC enables them to provide better care for their service member, and it helps to eliminate stress and emotional overload. I wanted to share with you some of the proven outcomes. We do see an increase in the satisfaction of life, and we see a decrease in caregiver depression. We also see a decrease in caregiver burden. We don't have that slide. It would not come up for some reason, but it also has that impact. The basic training that we provide through the RCI Training Center for Excellence includes an overview of basically 8 components. It's more of an overview, actually. We discuss military culture. We talk about what is the need for this service. We talk about how to identify military caregivers, and you can see through the rest of this list the types of things that we do provide training in. It's just not on the intervention itself and how to deliver the intervention, but information that surrounds the intervention for effective and successful implementation. Military culture is different, and people need to understand it in order to effectively work and support the family caregivers. There are some slides and some information that is provided that shares how the military culture is different in terms of beliefs and value systems, also what their norms and their rules are. We do recommend that the interventionist, how this is staffed, would be using people who are very familiar with a military culture whenever possible. In identifying this need, we share a good bit of statistical information, statistics, and trends that have been observed in military families. For instance, only 50% of eligible veterans actually pursue and receive services, even though they've been determined eligible for them. Also, we know that the mental health services that have been sought after by the teens and children of our military people have doubled since the rate that was prior to the Iraqi War. 25% of all service members report PTSD, although very few of them are diagnosed. Those are the types of statistics that we think are important for our interventionists to understand. We talk about identifying our military caregivers. There are the young spouses, or maybe not so young, but there are a large number of young husbands and wives that are dealing with these situations, these very challenging situations, with little to no preparation for that or expectation of it. There are parents providing caregiving for their children. They have to navigate very complex systems of care. Many are providing 24/7 care for a lifetime. And then there are the invisible wounds, such as the PTSD, the suicidal inclinations, which can be extremely difficult for families to cope with. Give you a little nuts and bolts about Operation Family Caregiver. It is an in-home tailored caregiver support intervention delivered in 4 in-home visits. As we said earlier, that could be also delivered by Skype rather than in the home if it's easier for the caregiver, if they prefer that, or if distance precludes traveling to the location that the caregiver is in. There's monthly telephone availability for support and ongoing follow-ups. There's a data collection at the beginning and end, which is where we get our outcome data so we can be sure that we are achieving the results that we intend to achieve. The program length goes from 4 to 6 months, and in order to be considered a completer, 75% of the sessions must be completed. This next chart is going to outline a little more specifically how those sessions are delivered, their location, and their timing. So what is it that Operation Family Caregiver actually provides to the caregiver? The program objectives are there, which you'll see, and they're provided. We improve the ability of family caregivers to utilize problem-solving skills using the focus methodology of problem solving. We'll get into that a little bit in a minute. We also improve the utilization of those problem-solving skills so that you can lower depression and health complaints. A part of focus is optimistic thinking, so there's some mood management going on there. And then there's improve the management of anxiety of children that are located in the home, because if you can empower the family caregiver to better prepare for possible incidents or to know how to quickly respond to effectively incidents as they arise, then it creates a more safe environment and it reduces the anxiety of all members of the household. We talked about the focus. This is the focus methodology for problem solving, and it's facts. If you know the facts and are optimistic and creative, you can understand the problem better and solve it effectively. This is another breakdown of how the FOCUS acronym carries out. We know that when you have the facts of the problem, some people will get very emotional about a problem. They might not be looking at it concretely, so you need to be able to define the problem and set goals for when you know that it's going to be solved, or what level of solution you can expect realistically. Optimism really is about overcoming that defeated negative thinking, instilling hope that you can cope, you can find ways to impact these issues that are dictating your life at the time. Creativity, learning how to brainstorm solutions, is a critical piece of finding something that will work, because usually it's a thing that is completely out of the box that will sometimes be the very thing that will solve a problem for you. We underline that people should think through all the possible solutions and really look at it from all angles so they can understand how it might work and what the side effects might be before they start using any particular of the solutions. And then part of the solutions is that they're going to be doing ongoing assessment and tweaking those solutions to ensure success in the long run. The Caregiver Notebook is a wonderful tool that's provided to every caregiver who enters the program. And I shared with you the table of contents here. As you can see, there's a lot of information about caregiving. There's a lot of information about different conditions that the caregiver might be dealing with. Then there are other issues about how to approach the strategies to cope with those issues. And then there's the resources section, which gives people resources, military resources, and also very helpful web pages and organizations. Because suicide of our returning military men and women has reached epidemic proportions, we do offer a section in our training that addresses suicidal ideation. Certainly we want people to be able to share ways in which a family member might identify the potential threat, also how they can care, how they can intervene. We share with them ways to help their loved one get the treatment that they need. We are not suicide prevention counselors. However, we can share a good deal of information about how the family can intervene and reach out to those people who are experts in this field. I want to talk to you a little bit about certification steps. People who become certified in this intervention, they will read some assigned readings that are required prior to certification. We actually conduct a role play via Skype in which the interventionist would have someone playing the caregiver, and then the interventionist would deliver a session to that caregiver, demonstrating that they have mastered the skills needed to implement with fidelity. Then there's a written test that they will submit as part of their certification packet. If they achieve a score of 75% or greater on the role play and on the test, then they will be provided certification. Finally, I want to introduce the RCI Training Center for Excellence, our fee schedules. If we are training an agency, if an agency decides they want to have a full staff that will be implementing this intervention, then the cost for that is to send those people you want to have certified to RCI at the cost of $3,500, or RCI staff, master trainers, will come to your site for the cost of $5,000 plus any travel expenses. This would provide training and certification for 4 staff members. Additional, up to 10 people may attend the training if it is at your site, but this cost covers the certification of 4. We do that because we know that for effective implementation, it's really good to have members of your staff at all levels truly engaged in understanding how this intervention works and how it is delivered. These agency contracts allows for training, the training of replacement staff due to turnover in the first year. So instead of having to start all over from square one, we will provide training via the internet for any people that had to be hired to replace those that had been trained prior to that time. We also will be offering a training class for individuals who would like to receive this training and certification. The class will be held at RCI in Americus, Georgia. The cost is $1,000 per participant, and that includes all manuals and the certification process. The next class to be held will be held in the first quarter of 2014. We have not determined exactly the date. For that, we would welcome input from anyone interested so that we can start scheduling it around the needs of the people who would like to attend. Finally, here is my contact information. I encourage you to contact me with any questions you may have, any suggestions you may have. Just call me, email me, and I'll be glad to discuss this important intervention for our military servicemen and women and their caregivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand by.